In this captivating story, Chief Obi's sudden death leaves a gaping void in his family's life. Known as a wealthy businessman in western Nigeria, he had amassed significant wealth and influence over the years. His death is not only a personal loss but a shock to the entire community that regarded him highly. As Patience and Martha, his two wives, mourn their husband, whispers about the future of Chief Obi's estate begin to circulate. Both women are left contemplating their uncertain futures while trying to put on a brave face for their children. In the days leading up to the funeral, the once tight-knit family starts to show signs of strain. Patience, as the first wife, has always held a sense of superiority over Martha, the younger and second wife. But now, the lines between them blur as they both struggle to come to terms with the future without Chief Obi. The underlying tension between them is overshadowed by the grief, but everyone knows that once the mourning period is over, the true drama will begin. With Chief Obi laid to rest, the wives and children reflect on the lives they shared with him. Patience reminisces about their early years together, the joys of raising her 3 children, and the small moments that made their life as a family unique. Her daughters and son cling to their memories of their father, each remembering the love and guidance he gave them. For Martha, the grief is complicated by the fact that, as the second wife, she was always in Patience's shadow. She wonders how this will affect her only son's place in the family now that Chief Obi is gone. As the days go by, Patience and Martha's unease grows. Friends and family who come to pay their respects subtly hint at the impending reading of the will and what it could mean for the family. The two wives avoid discussing the topic directly, but the unspoken rivalry between them starts to intensify. Beneath the surface, both are secretly preparing themselves for the day when they will have to defend their children's rights to Chief Obi's wealth. The day of the will reading arrives, and the air is filled with anticipation. Chief Obi's family gathers in his expansive living room, where the lawyer takes his place at the head of the room. He reads the will with a solemn tone, detailing instructions for the distribution of assets. At first, everything seems straightforward. Each wife is said to receive a share of the property, and there are specific provisions for each child. The tension in the room starts to ease, and there is a moment of relief. However, just as they think they've heard it all, the lawyer pauses, takes a deep breath, and reveals the existence of a third woman named Ruth. He explains that Ruth is Chief Obi's secret wife and that she has a son who, according to the will, is actually the firstborn child. The room falls silent as everyone tries to process the shock. The calm that had settled is shattered, and disbelief quickly turns to outrage as both Patience and Martha demand explanations. Patience and Martha are reeling from the bombshell dropped by the lawyer. The notion that Chief Obi had a secret family feels like a betrayal, and their grief quickly transforms into anger. Ruth's existence is a painful reminder that they never fully knew the man they loved. Both wives demand to know how Ruth could be legally considered a wife and why her son should have any claim to the estate. The lawyer, faced with the growing hostility, tries to explain that Chief Obi had been meticulous in his planning and ensured that Ruth's rights were well documented. The late chief's decision to recognize Ruth and her son's inheritance was legally binding. Patience and Martha, however, refuse to accept this new reality and begin to contemplate how to fight the revelation. For them, this isn't just about property anymore, it's about safeguarding their children's legacy. The animosity between the wives, once subtle and under control, quickly escalates. Patience is livid, feeling her position as the first wife is being undermined. Martha, while initially shocked, soon aligns herself with Patience, seeing Ruth as a threat to her own son's inheritance. Together, they begin to question Ruth's legitimacy, attempting to cast doubt on her marriage to Chief Obi. They vow not to let this secret wife and her son take what they believe rightfully belongs to them. Meanwhile, Ruth prepares herself for the inevitable confrontation. She knows that her and her son's acceptance into the family will not be easy. As she braces for the impending battle, her determination only grows stronger. Ruth is ready to fight for her son's rightful inheritance, no matter the cost. The seeds of conflict are firmly planted, and the lawyer realizes that his job just became infinitely more complicated. Ruth arrives at Chief Obi's mansion with her son, ready to stake their claim. Her appearance stirs a wave of emotion among the family members present. Some are curious, others are visibly hostile. Ruth's calm demeanor in the face of such palpable animosity unnerves Patience and Martha. She carries herself with an air of quiet confidence, as though she belongs, which only adds fuel to the fire. Ruth's son, a tall, composed young man, stands by his mother's side. His presence is equally unsettling to Chief Obi's other children, who perceive him as an intruder. He is the living embodiment of their father's hidden past, and his arrival brings the reality of the situation into sharp focus. As Ruth and her son settle into their seats, it becomes clear to everyone that the battle for the inheritance has only just begun. An attempt to hold a family meeting to resolve the issue amicably quickly devolves into chaos. Patience, unable to contain her anger, accuses Ruth of being a gold digger who manipulated Chief Obi for financial gain. Martha echoes these sentiments, alleging that Ruth only came forward to exploit the situation after Chief Obi's death. Ruth, for her part, remains calm and defends herself, explaining that she and Chief Obi had a long-standing relationship that predated even Patience's marriage. The argument grows increasingly heated, with everyone speaking over one another. The children of Patience and Martha join in, leveling accusations against Ruth's son. The atmosphere in the room is charged with bitterness and distrust. The lawyer, hoping to bring some order to the proceedings, suggests a temporary break. It is evident that the path to reconciliation will not be smooth, and the conflict is far from being resolved. Caught between his duty to fulfill Chief Obi's wishes and the escalating family feud, the lawyer finds himself in a difficult position. His attempts at mediation have failed, and he is left with the daunting task of navigating the legal and emotional minefield laid before him. Each wife demands that he act in their favor, and Ruth insists on her legal rights being recognized. The lawyer realizes that any decision he makes will inevitably deepen the rift. While reviewing the will, he contemplates suggesting a division of assets that may appease all sides, but it becomes clear that no compromise will satisfy everyone. The lawyer's struggle to keep the family from tearing itself apart forces him to reconsider his role as just a legal representative. He sees himself now as a mediator whose job it is to restore some semblance of peace. The children of Patience and Martha quickly rally to defend their mothers. For them, this conflict isn't just about money, it's about protecting their memories of their father and the life they've known. They view Ruth's son as an opportunist, someone who appeared out of nowhere to claim what isn't rightfully his. This animosity is particularly strong among Patience's daughters, who lash out at Ruth's son whenever they cross paths. Ruth's son, however, refuses to be intimidated. He has grown up knowing about his father and feels entitled to his share of the inheritance. His defiance only aggravates his half-siblings, making it harder for any reconciliation. The atmosphere in the house becomes tense, and the rivalry threatens to extend beyond the mothers to encompass the next generation. In an attempt to clarify her position, Ruth shares her story with the lawyer in private. She tells him how she met Chief Obi long before he married Patience and how they had shared a deep connection. Although circumstances led them to part ways for some time, they remained close, and he provided for her discreetly throughout his life. Ruth explains that Chief Obi had always intended to make amends and recognize his son as his rightful heir but feared the backlash from his other family. Ruth's story adds a new layer of complexity to the lawyer's understanding of the situation. It becomes evident that Chief Obi's secret life was not born out of malice but a desire to protect all those he loved. While Ruth's revelations elicit some sympathy from the lawyer, he knows that convincing Patience and Martha of her genuine connection to Chief Obi will be an uphill battle. As news of the family conflict spreads, the entire community becomes involved. Some support Patience and Martha, condemning Ruth as a homewrecker. Others take Ruth's side, arguing that Chief Obi should not have hidden his first marriage and that Ruth's son has every right to be recognized. The story becomes the talk of the town, and everyone seems to have an opinion on who deserves what. This public scrutiny intensifies the pressure on the family to resolve their issues. Elders in the community begin to step in, offering unsolicited advice and pushing for traditional dispute resolution methods. But Patience and Martha, embarrassed by the exposure, become even more determined to win the battle. The conflict escalates, with every action taken by either side being watched and judged by the community. Amidst the escalating feud, the lawyer convinces the three women to agree to a temporary truce. They decide to halt all legal proceedings while they explore alternative means of resolving the dispute. Although there is a sense of relief, the ceasefire is fragile. Patience and Martha are only willing to pause the fight because they are strategizing how best to undermine Ruth's claims. Ruth, on the other hand, sees the truce as an opportunity to gain some leverage. She knows that her son's legitimacy is the key to securing their share of the inheritance. During this break, she works closely with the lawyer to gather more evidence to support their claims. Despite the pause in hostilities, the atmosphere remains tense, with each side preparing for the inevitable next round. Feeling the weight of his family's mistrust and his mother's struggles, Ruth's son decides to confront the situation head-on. He challenges his half-siblings, accusing them of disrespecting his mother and ignoring their father's wishes. In a heated exchange, he defends his and Ruth's right to be recognized as part of the family. His boldness catches everyone off guard, especially his half-sisters, who never expected him to speak so candidly. His confrontation causes a shift in the dynamics. Some members of the family begin to question whether they've been too harsh on him. While the overall hostility doesn't disappear, a few cracks begin to form in the united front against Ruth and her son. His decision to speak up changes the narrative and forces everyone to reconsider the real reasons behind their grievances. Amid the ongoing strife, the children from all sides share a rare moment of unity when they come together to remember their father. They recount fond memories of Chief Obi, and for a brief time, the anger and rivalry seem to fade into the background. Ruth's son listens to the stories, feeling a sense of connection to the siblings he has just started getting to know. He finds himself wishing that things had been different and that he could have shared in those experiences. The fleeting camaraderie among the siblings gives the lawyer a spark of hope. He sees it as a sign that, despite the bitterness, there may still be a chance for the family to come together. But just as quickly as the moment arrives, it dissipates, with Patience and Martha reminding their children not to forget the intruder in their midst. The lawyer realizes that the fight for reconciliation is far from over. As the family rift deepens, Patience's youngest daughter, Ada, begins to question the conflict. She had been close to her father and knows that he wouldn't want his family torn apart. Secretly, she reaches out to Ruth's son and offers a tentative friendship. The two start talking and find that they have more in common than they thought. Ada's growing empathy for Ruth's son starts to soften her stance on the inheritance dispute. However, when her secret meetings are discovered, her siblings are furious. They accuse her of betraying the family and trying to cozy up to the enemy. Ada's position becomes precarious as she is caught between loyalty to her mother and siblings and her sense of justice. The story ends on a suspenseful note, as Ada is forced to make a choice that could either help heal the family or deepen the divide even further. Will she stand by her new friend or buckle under family pressure? Stay tuned for part 2.